Hello, my name is Brad, and today we're going to be talking about building super natives. There's a few variations of super natives. Flurry Worry did a Timid release vassal kind of thing. There's a few different incarnations of it, and this super native build is it's kind of aimed at. First of all, you have to use custom nations, and so this will really only be good for you can do humble origins and ideas guy with this. But it's a pretty surefire way to get it. It's almost impossible to fail if you play it smart. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. I have here Excel. Let me zoom in just to give us a little bit of a higher resolution. How we're basically gonna break migration. Okay. So migration, when you play a native tribe, you have, I think it's 1825. Let me check that number one more time. Yeah, 1825. Yes, 5 years. So when you are a native, and you have to be, because there's different ways different ways the different religions will reform, so you have to play an animist or a totemist. So you have to play an animist or a totemist native council, and you can migrate every 1,825 days, every 5 years. What this migration will do is you'll move to an adjacent province, and you'll gain 50 of each monarch point type, rather. And it's to kind of, the reason they have it is to A, simulate migration of tribes, and B, to kind of compensate for the fact that you have to buy your reforms so that you don't feel as far behind in tech when you finally do reform. And it gives you a chance to fight back at being conquered by the Westerners. So what are we going to do? We're going to break this cooldown. So there's a few sources of ways to reduce it. Your stability will give you minus 10% cooldown per stability you have lost. So it's going to end up, we're going to end up having minus 30% from minus 3 stability. So this is actually one of the few times when having low stability is advantageous to you as a native council. You're also going to get minus 25% from, oops, meant to not open that. You'll get 25% from the native diplomatic idea Travois, I don't know. Basically, you're going to buy one of your forms early on. This will be the first thing you buy, and it'll give you minus 25%. And then you're going to take another minus 40% from your traditions. And that's going to end up putting us at minus 95% migration CD. And so what that ends up looking like is you end up being able to migrate, instead of every 5 years, you end up being able to migrate every 91 days, or 92 days. So it's every 3 months. So what does this look like? Well, let's just call this 3 months for the sake of simplicity, right? So every 3 months, you are getting 50 of each monarch point type. So if you divide that up, equals, my bad, 50 divided by 3, you are getting, and I shit you not, I mean, this is just ridiculous, you are getting almost 17 of each monarch point. Each one, not total. Like, you get 17 admin, 17 mill, 17 diplo every month from, like, a year into the game onward. If you migrate on cooldown. And so I'm going to pause the video, and when I have a good set of ideas that fit under 50 points, I'll show those to you. You can copy those. I'll show you where to put your country and what idea set to take. So I will pause here. Cool, we're in. Hello, welcome back. So I'm showing you here how to set up your super natives. So the first thing you will want to do is to create a random new world. And you'll ask, Brad, why am I making a random new world? Would this also work on a normal, just North America, South America? Yeah, it would. The reason we're doing random new world is to get kind of a better location. So we're going to game the system a little bit in our favor. And I'll explain the ideal situation you want to have. This is not ideal. This is okay. This is tolerable. This is probably like the very least you should look for before starting a game like this. So where do you want to be for this strategy to work? Well, our strategy is to get monstrous amounts of monarch points and just dump them into development. Now you might say, but Brad, it's 50% more expensive to develop as a native, and you can't make institutions. So why would you develop? Well, when you're getting 17 of each monarch point per month, that 50% cost, I mean, just utterly stops mattering. You can develop pretty crazy. I've only tried this out once so far, and I intend to kind of time-lapse this whole game I'm about to do, get both the achievements. But last game, I think I had 330 development cities by like 1464, and I had all my reforms as well. It's very quick snowball, and it's just pretty impressive. So the ideal situation you want to create this is you want to have an island all to yourself. So technically this is close to the other one, but this is ideal. You want an island all to yourself where you have vision of people you can declare war on, and that's very important to tank our stability. So for instance, we're going to be able to declare on these guys over here, and then we can just wait it out and peace out for money, because we don't have ships. There's no way anyone can attack each other. And that'll get my stability down to -3 very quickly. I'm going to have to wait out until they'll forfeit, or I might have to pay them, but yeah, I will, because the war goal will be to take their capital. So I'll eventually have to pay them, but I can wait it out, and I'll just pay them, and then I'll start migrating. Now, you also want to be far enough from the west that they're not going to come to you first thing. So for instance, this whole island up here is abandoned, but I didn't take it because this is most likely going to be the first place Portugal and Castile go, followed by this island over here, then this, and then I guess I'm 4th or 5th. So I expect to be alone for probably at least a century. Maybe they'll find me shortly after that, but that's plenty of time to get all of our developing done. Now, a very important concept to introduce here, first of all, before I get into ideas and things, is that a lot of people don't know this. When you reform your religion, so let's say I finally border a Westerner and I reform, your tech doesn't scale with the tech you already have. And so even if you're still at Tech 1 and everything, you will get 3/4 of the technology of the country that reformed you. So if I border Portugal, and I have like 4, 5, 6 spread to my tech, and I reform, I will get the same technology after the reform that I would have had if I was 1-1-1. So as long as you can reform before they declare war on you, you don't really gain anything from teching up other than competing with natives. But since we don't have to compete with other natives, we don't have to tech up. That's right, we can literally completely abandon technology until we are westernized. We can just develop with all of those 17 points we're getting per month and end up with like 50 development cities for several states. We will be utterly, disgustingly huge. So before I get into the strategy as far as how to colonize those once you reform, let's talk about ideas. So the first thing you want to do is pick especially if you're going for both achievements in one run, you're going to pick a province that has 3 development, only 1 in each category, as that is something you need to get Ideas Guy. So just do that, and you'll be able to migrate to something better. I mean, Stalag, the place I plan on making my capital, is 222, so point is make it 3. Make it 3. Next thing up is going to be your government, and then we'll go to your leader. So your culture, you're going to want to go to the culture group is called Evenki, and you're going to pick Manchu. And the reason you go Manchu is because if you have Mandate of Heaven, you can raise banners on all your states. So that's super nice, and you should probably do it. Like, every single custom nation you ever play should be Manchu, most likely. It's just the best culture, unless you want like a culture group that can assimilate nearby provinces, but we don't. So for now, we're going to Manchu. You'll go religion or totemist, doesn't matter, either one. Or, what am I saying? Animist or totemist, not religion or totemist. Your tech group will be North American or South American. Your map graphics will probably match those, but I suppose it doesn't matter. And your government will be under special, and it's going to be Native Council. As soon as you have picked a Native Council government type, go back to your court. You're going to put your ruler at age 31. Give him a 0-1-0 spread. Make sure it's a him, not a her. There's no penalty cost for going male or female. Just make it male so we get the general. And then give him 2 negative qualities. So I've given him Babbling Buffoon and Malevolent, because those give us extra points to work with. And they also don't actually give us a penalty early, because we won't be doing any diplomacy while he's alive, so we don't need dip rep. And we also will not have any subjects. So he'll be long dead by the time either of those come into effect. Moving on to our ideas. So the first 2 are the most important, and then the rest are very flexible. The strategy ultimately just comes down to the traditions, and the ideas are really up to you, but I'll show you what I took and why I took them. Your traditions, you will want 10% development cost and 40% migration cooldown. God knows why they made migration cooldown so easy to buy. I don't understand it. It's only 36 points for 40%. That's just obscene. I mean, if you were given the full 800 budget for this, you could be giving yourself like 2 shock on land leader and like all administrative efficiency, aggressive expansion. Like, you could really make a terrifying monster out of these ideas if you had the full 800 budget, but we only have 50. So after you have your dev cost and your migration cooldown, we're going to look at the rest of the ideas, and I'll breeze through these and tell you why I think they're good. Advisor cost reduction. Now, you'll notice I like to keep things at around 10%, but a lot of these are only at 5, simply because that's just what the budget allowed. So it's not going to be too aesthetically pleasing, but it's what we have. So advisor cost is because we would just want to be absolutely hoarding, not hoarding. We want to be hoarding Monarch points, and so the more advisors we can get, the better advisors we can get, better we can do that. We should be getting advisors pretty early into the game because of our giant dev, and so this cost will help us out considerably. Tax modifier. Now, the reason I have tax and domestic trade up in here are these two are because for ideas guy, you want the money, right? And so the better you're able to do that, the better it's going to work out. Now, fire damage received. The reason I have this is because you are probably going to be attacked by the West, and you'll probably be able to fight them. To be fair, once you have all your development. But the fire damage received is really nice into their cannons. If they magically have cannons and you don't, or you can't afford them, those are very nice to have for the fights, especially as their infantry leans more toward fire than shock damage as well. Trade efficiency is just fluff. Infantry combat ability is just a generic, easy buff I gave myself. You could swap it out for morale or whatever else. I was able to give myself 5 discipline as well, which is really nice. And heavy ship combat ability is just to keep people off the island. Simple enough, right? Again, when you're making these, if you're not familiar with custom nations, everything is a point cost, and the stronger the idea, the earlier you put it, the more expensive it is. So discipline is only 5 points to put it at the end of my tree, but to put it like first, it would be probably, I'm going to say 10 points or something like that. So just be smart about how you layer things to get the most out of your 50 points, and again, the only mandatory things are going to be your development cost and your migration cooldown. So I will go ahead, and I think that's everything. You guys kind of got a gist for it, and I'll hop into game and show you guys what's going on. Okay, we're into game, and I'm going to show you our opening moves. So we'll place a merchant just to collect. And I'm also going to, you will always, when you're a native, you will always get a mission at the start of the game to migrate. But it's like the only one you ever get, so I don't really understand, to be honest with you, how these generate. I've never, ever gotten a second migrate mission, except for the one you get at the start of the game. So we're going to take that and migrate from day 1. We will go to Stalik, right? Okay, so we're migrating. That's fine. Migration happens instantly, actually. You don't have to wait for the next day. It'll happen as soon as you do it, which I imagine has some very strange consequences with coding. Aren't a whole lot of things that happen instantaneously in this game. Okay, opening moves, we already put a merchant down. We will start improving relations with people just to do it after we hit our stability goal. I don't think we even need an army right now because they can't possibly reach us and we want to be making money. So we're going to delete our army. And that seems about right. How much money am I making? I can have an advisor as well. So we are going to take a Diplo advisor just to get our Travois quicker. I'll take morale of armies just because... Alright, no, I'll do improved relations. We don't have navies. Okay, there are no estates, so don't worry about distributing land or milking those. You just have to worry about migrations. And so, if you open up your native tab down here, it's open by your mini-map. Also, I'm aware that my processors... I don't know what affects that. Whatever, the screen is blurry when I move it, so I'll try to keep things fairly stationary for you guys so it's easier to read. Your native interface here, you get these things called... I think they're just called reforms? Or, I guess they're native ideas, yeah. And it costs 500 of each point to get them, and you just buy one, and when you buy all of them, you can reform your religion as soon as you are next to... You reform your government, rather, as soon as you are next to a Western country, or someone who has feudalism or something like that. So, we are going to aim for Travois, this one here. And what that does is you automatically discover adjacent land when a colony is built, which is fine, and migration cooldown at minus 25%. So, we are now sitting without an army, with an advisor, with a merchant. I think we're ready to unpause. And so we're going to wait. I'm going to speed things up a little bit. We are going to wait until the 11th of December, and then we're going to declare 2 wars to tank our stability. So, let me wait until then. There it is. Oh, we're on the 12th. Fair enough. So we're going to just declare war here. Again, they cannot reach us, because they just don't have boats. So we'll just declare. And we're going to take a 2 stability hit, which is fine. because we want that. I'm going to speed up the game to 5 then, and now I'm going to go to January 12th, where I believe I can declare. I think you have to wait a month in between wars. So now we will also declare on these guys, which will tank our stability all the way down to -3. Perfect. So now if you open up your stability, you'll notice we're at -3. And then if you open up your government tab and go to country modifiers, you'll see that we are already at 70% migration cooldown, which is huge. So we have to wait about a year. Normally it'd be 5 years. Right now we have to wait a little over a year, about a year and a half. So we're just going to let that tick. And all we're doing right now is we're waiting on our ability to buy Travois, and then we can start migrating every 90 days. So while I'm waiting for that, I will give you guys a quick explanation of some of the things we did. The reason we took the 1 diplomatic skill on our ruler is also so that we could have the get Travois sooner. Now, something that's really interesting about migration cooldown is migration cooldown is actually retroactive, if that makes sense. So let's say you're at 10% migration cooldown, and then you somehow instantly unlock 80%. If the 90 days that you would need at 90% have already passed, you can instantly migrate. So lowering the cooldown actually affects, in a way, the time that's passed since your last migration, in game terms, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm apologizing for confusing you. But that's the gist of it, so I will should give you a few examples of how quickly we can migrate. While you're doing this, it's going to be kind of boring, because you're not really interacting with countries, at least until the West shows up. So have your cursor over the migration bar. You'll notice right now it says you'll be able to migrate in 20 days. That bar only fills on months, and so if you unlock your migration in between like month ticks, the migrate bar won't fill up, but the button will still light up. We'll see if I can show you that here. Yeah. So you'll notice then right now the bar isn't full, but I can migrate as soon as tomorrow. Oh, right, I can't migrate during war. Duh. So I actually have to piece these guys out then. I think I could just unconditional surrender to both of them. They shouldn't be able to annex me. Or maybe they could. They might be able to annex me, actually. Yeah. Let's see what they want. If they'll just take money, I'll just take it from them. We'll become a vassal. I don't really want to do that. Not that interested in becoming their vassal. My war exhaustion isn't going up, though. It's not going down, either. But it's staying even. What is the best way to get out of these wars, do we think? Let's just see, is the length of war ticking in our favor or not? That's an important thing. It is, yes. Length of war is ticking in our favor. And so we might have to wait out a year or 2 or 3 in war, at least until they get called to peace, maybe. Although I'm not sure if defensive members of the war get that. And then once we wait that out, we can start migrating like crazy. So I'll pause it here, and I will take the time to wait both of these wars out. I'll let you guys know how long it'll take, and then I will also unlock Travois, and then we'll resume from there. And I'll give you guys a quick glance at how quickly we can migrate, so thank you. Oh boy, there's my screenshot, just like my frame again. So we migrated twice since I left you guys. I gotta stop zooming because it's screwing with the vision, so I'll just try to leave like a steady view over this. I started here, I migrated to Stalig, I went from Stalig, so I was still in Stalig, I waited 3 years till 1448. 1448 I was able to piece out both of the people I was at war with for just money and war operations, which is exactly what you want. And then I was able to move to Wigpig, and then I was able to go from Wigpig to where I am now. So it's only been a few migrations. You can migrate to anything adjacent by sea as well as just by province wall, so that's why I was able to jump so far. It doesn't really matter where you migrate initially. Now I'm finally able, between all those migrations, I can now buy Travois, which I'm about to do right now. Aha! And I just migrated. So I have quite a few loans right now, because I had to pay out for losing those wars, but it's fine. So let's go back to our government tab, and you'll notice I now have only 6 years into the game, 5 years into the game really, I have 95% migration cooldown. Now, some things in this game actually have hard caps, where they'll have different ways you can reduce them, but at the end of the day, there is a hard, you cannot go past this, right? There is not that for migration cooldown, to my knowledge, because I don't think there's a way to reduce it again. I think this is the maximum you physically can reduce it, outside of modding. And so we are at, I mean, if you check this, I just migrated. It's January 1450. We should be able to migrate we can migrate in April. Yeah. So it's about every 3 months we're going to be able to migrate. Just actually, pardon my language, is just fucking stupid. The fact that you can get this many points. And I understand it's a custom nation, so they shouldn't really have to balance it. But to give you a taste of this, we'll skip ahead. And again, while you're waiting, just hover your mouse over the migration bar. You'll see how quickly that fills up. I mean, it's just 1/4 of the bar per tick. And then, here we go. Just get ready to pause it when it hits 0, like we just did. And remember, even if you miss it by a day or two, I mean, you're going to be microing this every 90 days, so it really doesn't matter. Now, just pick a province you want to go to. We'll go to Owinge or whatever, and look at that. 50 extra of every type, and all this good stuff. And you just do that on repeat until you're sitting on a few hundred per. I would recommend developing early and then going back for your reforms, just so you're making more gold while you hop around. And so the main strategy of this is going to be, you're going to be looking to, basically, you're going to be focusing on developing probably 5 or 6 provinces initially. Pick like 2 states. So to look at states, for instance, you're going to look at, hold on, change to naval supplies. You're going to want to go to, I believe it's areas. So find your areas map mode, and these are the different states. And the reason you want to pick a state is because that way you can keep your development edict up. So for instance, I'll probably be going for Stalig, and you want to probably go for the states that are further away from the west. So I'll go for probably Stalig, Wigpig, and like maybe Likivas here. So I'll probably prioritize those, but then I'll spread out if the west gives me more time. And you just want to pick one, and just develop the provinces to like 25 or 30. Just develop the hell out of them. Ignore your tech, just keep bouncing, keep developing. Now, one of the sad things is you'll notice, like, if I hover over Wigpig right now, and I go down to my active effects on it, I have resources depleted by migrants until 69, which I'm going to be back here probably 30 times before that. Whenever you migrate from a province, it will lose its tax modifier for about 20 years. It'll lose half of its tax. That doesn't feel great. That feels pretty bad, sadly. You will be losing your income a little bit, but, I mean, for the price of being able to have 30 development cities as natives, you kind of have to throw that to the wind and just take it as it is. Now, some other things, I think I'll leave you at some point, and I'll just time-lapse it after this, but, actually what I'll do is I'll upload this, and then I'll upload a second video as the time-lapse of the run, just so you can get an idea of how well it went. One of the cool things is that when you migrate to a province, it will have many possible things the trade good can be. Like, if you look right now, I'm hovering over the question mark in the corner, and it says, oh, it can be tropical wood, it can be naval supplies, it can be coffee, etc. And every time you migrate to a province, it'll reset. And so one of the nice things is that toward the very last stages of the game, if you want to really go strategic, you can intentionally wait for a certain trade good to spawn in a province before you make it your capital and reform. So let's say, like, you really want to be defensive, so you'd wait for salt to spawn. Or you want to be able to develop your capital, you just really want to play tall even after you reform. Well, then you would go, like, you'd wait for cloth or something like that. Or you really want to be a good trading hub, you wait for fur. Like, you just kind of have to learn. This comes with player knowledge, or you can look up the list. Just see what the different trade goods do, and wait until one you like spawns. And again, it has to be on the list to spawn. Like, you're not going to get ivory if you just chance it enough. Now, in order to reform, this is an important note, it says reform government, you need a neighbor to have embraced some institution with an adjacent core province. So let's say we're hopping around, and we're in like 1550, and I've got 6 or 7 provinces at 50 development each, and Portugal puts a colony down in Pig, right? You do not want to approach Pig before it finishes being a colony. If you approach it while it's still a colony in progress, you will not be able to reform. It has to be a core. They have to finish the province. And so right when it finishes, that's when you run at it. And then as soon as you border it, you reform. And you'll be able to run around pretty quickly because, again, you can migrate every 90 days. At that point, you're probably going to want to have quite a bit of Diplo saved up, immediately take colonization ideas, and just spam your colonists on all of the provinces that you've developed. And you should be able to pretty quickly, you might get in some debt from that, but you should be able to pretty quickly get your dev up to being a major power in the region. I think that's about it. Now, the question I do have, and I do not know the answer to this, I'll probably put one of those dumb like edits in later if I do find out. Let's say Portugal's on Pig and we're on Banlick. If we have a colonist from our ideas, because we get one, you get a colonist from your Diplo ideas. If I put a colonist on the province between us, as long as this is a core, does my land have to be a core? Like, if I border him with a colony and he has a core, can I still reform? From the language, it looks like I could, and that could be a safer option. But I just don't know for sure. So do that at your own risk, because you might get attacked while your colony forms. Or just place a colony and then immediately get rid of it if you can't reform. That's a pretty safe way to go about it. So, I hope you guys appreciated this, and I hope you like it, I hope you try it, and thanks for watching.